Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're plunging into, well, one of the most striking and persistent patterns you see in crime statistics. The profound gender gap.
It really is striking.
And the numbers are just undeniable. Men commit far more crime than women. We're talking, what, something like 4/5 of all crime?
Around that figure, yes. It's significant.
And the central question sociologists have been grappling with for, gosh, decades is, well, it's simple, but it's complex. Why?
Exactly. Why is that the case?
And that's exactly what we're going to try and unravel today. We're doing a deep dive into the fascinating theories that attempt to explain this persistent disparity.
And it's crucial, I think, to frame this properly. It isn't just about who commits the crime. It's about the social distribution of crime.
How it spreads across different groups.
Precisely. How criminal behavior maps onto society. And while women are significantly underrepresented as offenders, we absolutely have to remember they're often more likely to be victims of specific crimes.
Like domestic violence, for instance.
Domestic violence is a key example, yes. So our mission here, for you listening, is to explore these really compelling theories that try to get at why this gender disparity in offending exists.
Okay, let's get started. Maybe we can unpack a really controversial but important idea first. The chivalry thesis.
Ah, yes. Pollack's idea.
Otto Pollack,
Yeah.
right? It suggests something pretty unsettling, actually. That maybe our male-dominated criminal justice system, police, judges, juries, might have a sort of paternalistic, protective attitude towards women.
The idea being they're seen as, weaker, less capable of serious crime?
Something like that. And the thinking goes, this could lead to women being treated more leniently, so less likely to be arrested, maybe less likely to be charged, or even convicted.
Which in turn could mean that the official statistics don't show the full picture of female crime. It could be underestimated.
Yeah, it implies a kind of systemic bias,
Yeah.
challenging the idea that the courts are purely objective.
And that's exactly where many feminists jump in with a very strong counterargument.
Right.
They really challenge this idea. They argue the system is, far from chivalrous towards women.
Okay, how so?
They suggest that actually women are often punished more harshly, especially when they step outside expected gender roles.
Ah, interesting. So if they don't conform.
Exactly. There's a powerful example often cited. Think about a female offender who might be judged not just on her crime, but also on whether she's seen as failing as a good mother.
Wow. So a double standard then.
Highlighting a definite double standard in the system, yes. It suggests women are judged against a different, arguably stricter social benchmark.
So it's not just about what the statistics say, but maybe what they hide. And even how women might be doubly judged for not fitting the mold. That's quite a twist on chivalry.
It completely flips the idea on its head, doesn't it? It suggests the system isn't always acting in this benign, protective way at all.
That does make you think. Okay, so if systemic bias, like this contestant chivalry thesis, is one potential piece of the puzzle, what about something more fundamental, like how we're raised?
Right, the socialization aspect.
This brings us to a very different perspective. Functionalist sex role theory. Talcott Parsons, wasn't it?
Talcott Parsons, yes, back in the day. He argued that traditional gender roles, particularly within the family, play a really crucial role in shaping who might turn to crime.
Okay, explain that a bit more. How do those traditional roles link to crime?
Well, if you look at it through that lens, you see very different socialization patterns. Girls, traditionally, are often socialized to be more passive, caring, emotional.
Okay.
They typically have a clear female role model, the mother usually present at home. There's often closer supervision, maybe a stronger emphasis on a moral code. All these things, Parsons argued, make girls less likely to be deviant.
And boys?
Conversely, boys are often socialized to be tough, aggressive, assertive, and crucially, the male role model, the father, might be less consistently present, especially historically with work patterns.
Right, the breadwinner role often took them out of the home.
Exactly. Parsons suggested this could lead to something called status anxiety in boys.
Status anxiety.
Yeah, a sort of internal struggle or insecurity about proving their masculinity, their male identity. And this, unfortunately, could push some towards delinquency or crime as a way to assert that masculinity, that toughness, that dominance.
So in a way, the very traits society encouraged in boys, toughness, aggression, could, if not channeled right, become risk factors for crime. That's quite a profound idea.
It is. It suggests that seeking ways to demonstrate maleness outside of conventional routes might lead down a path to offending.
Does that theory still hold up, though? I mean, with gender roles changing so much? Or is it more of a historical explanation?
It's definitely rooted in more traditional historical roles, but I think it lays important groundwork for understanding how cultural shifts might impact these patterns even today. It highlights how deep-seated these socialization processes can be.
It's fascinating. Okay, so Parsons looks at upbringing, setting the stage. Then someone like Frances Hydenson comes along and takes it maybe a step further.
Yes, Heidenson's control theory offers another really compelling explanation.
Her argument is more about control, right?
Yeah.
That women are subject to more social control than men.
Precisely. Her core idea is that women face more forms of social control in various spheres of life, and this directly reduces their opportunities to commit crime.
So it's less about inclination and more about sheer opportunity.
Largely, yes. Think of it like an invisible web of responsibilities, expectations, and even fears that surround women. Heidenson suggests this web acts as a much stronger deterrent for women than, say, the threat of prison. It limits their chance to offend in the first place.
That's a strong claim. What kind of controls are we talking about? Can you break that down?
Sure, Heidenson elaborated on 3 specific types, which makes it quite clear. First, there's control in the home.
Okay, domestic life.
Yeah. Women's traditional domestic roles, childcare responsibilities, these things significantly limit their time, their freedom of movement. It simply makes it harder physically to get out and engage in criminal activities, especially those requiring time away from home.
Makes sense. What's the second type?
Second is control in public. This is about how women's movements in public spaces are often restricted. Think about the pervasive and very real fear of male violence or sexual assault.
Right, safety concerns.
Exactly. This fear can make women less likely to go out late at night or to enter certain areas perceived as dangerous areas where statistically more crime might occur. It limits their spatial freedom.
And the third?
The third is control at work. Historically, and often still today, women tend to occupy more subordinate positions in the workplace compared to men.
Lower down the hierarchy.
Generally, yes. And this limits their opportunities for certain types of crime, particularly large-scale fraud or embezzlement, what we often call white-collar crime. Those kinds of offenses are typically more accessible to people in positions of power and authority.
So home, public spaces, work. It paints a picture of quite comprehensive control, limiting opportunities.
It does provide a structural explanation.
But I wonder, is there a risk this sounds a bit too deterministic? Like women are just passive victims of these controls? Or does the theory allow for agency, for women navigating or resisting this?
That's a fair point. Heidenson's focus is definitely on the constraints, the pervasive nature of these controls, as a limiting factor on offending. But of course, that doesn't mean individual women don't exercise agency or resist within those structures. The theory primarily highlights the pressures and reduced opportunities that result from these layers of control.
Okay, that clarifies it. So what's really interesting then is to think about what happens when those chains of control, as you described them, start to loosen.
Yeah.
Because we are seeing changes, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
That gender gap in crime, while still substantial, it is evolving. Female crime rates have been rising in many places, even if they're still much lower than male rates.
That's right. The picture isn't static.
And this brings us to another key idea, doesn't it? Frida Adler's liberation thesis. This tries to explain that very shift.
Exactly. Adler proposed this back in the 70s, actually, anticipating some of these trends.
And her argument is,
Well, it's quite intriguing and maybe a bit counterintuitive for some. Adler argued that as women have gained more equality, more independence, moved more into the public sphere.
through feminist movements and societal changes.
Yes. As they've achieved liberation, in her terms, they've also, perhaps unexpectedly, gained more opportunities to commit crime.
Ah, so liberation cuts both ways in a sense.
That's the idea. As women move into roles in public spaces that were previously dominated by men, think certain jobs, certain social settings, they naturally encounter more situations, more chances to engage in crimes that were once considered predominantly male.
Like certain types of theft or maybe even violence or white-collar crime as they move up.
Potentially, yes. It's about expanded roles and access leading to expanded opportunities, including, unfortunately, opportunities for offending. It links changing gender roles directly to changing crime patterns.
So putting all this together then, for you, our listener, we've taken this deep dive into the really significant gender gap in crime.
Yeah,
And it's clear, isn't it, that it's a complex picture. It's evolving.
definitely not one simple answer.
No. It seems to be explained by this really rich range of sociological factors. We've touched on potential systemic biases like the chivalry thesis, the profound influences of early socialization and sex roles.
Then the omnipresent forces of social control that Heidenson talked about.
And even, as we just discussed, the expanding opportunities that might come with liberation, as Adler suggested, it really is a multifaceted phenomenon.
It truly is. And maybe a final thought to leave you with.
Go on.
If we consider just how rapidly societal roles and opportunities are still changing for both men and women, what might that mean for the gender gap in crime in the next, say, few decades?
Where is it heading?
Exactly. And what new forms of social control or perhaps new patterns of socialization might emerge as significant factors? It really encourages you to think about how these historical theories we've discussed might need to adapt, or how they might be challenged by future shifts in society.
And what surprising new dynamics might pop up in the landscape of crime as things continue to change?
Precisely. Food for thought.